You know, each week we scour the internet looking for proof of gods or anything supernatural, and we haven't found anything yet that would convince us. But we have found a lot of really cool stuff, and we want to show you what it is. So buckle up because the show's starting right now. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Nonprofits. This is the show where we discuss news and topics of the day from a skeptical humanist perspective. My name, of course, is Kelley Laughlin, and today's topics are a step in the right, step in the right, a step in the right direction. And stepping with me, I'm obviously no Cynthia McDonald, but stepping with me today, all the way on the far end, is the heavenly Helen Greene. Hi, Helen, how are you?
Hello, everyone. Happy Pride Month. I'm your token gay queer unicorn. Hello.
And next to Helen, we have the jaunty Jason Friedman.
I don't know how that name's jaunty. I need to
You
look
are
that up.
jaunty.
It's awesome. It fits
I
you.
went to school, but I don't even know what that means. So I'll have to look that up after this. But thanks. I'm happy to be here.
Cool. And the judicious Jonathan Roudabush.
Hey guys, thank you, Kelley. Yep, it's great to be on Nonprofits. This is an amazing show with amazing people, especially since this makes us an all ACD cast.
I was going to mention that we are all ACD personalities. So if you want to talk to any of us, you can always find us on the ACD. So. And I do want to point out that this show is a product of the Atheist Community of Austin, a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to promoting atheism, critical thinking, secular humanism, and the separation of religion and government. And today we are going to talk about humanists spreading the good news of the secular word. The Proud Boys came, but these parents conquered. A Tennessee law is struck down by a federal judge, and a Utah school district bans the Bible. As with all of our shows, links to today's topics and the news we discuss are available in the description below, just down there. And a reminder, if you want to come into the show prepared, you can check out the Nonprofits Facebook fan page and get all the links on Friday night so you can come in here ahead of time, know what stories we're going to be talking about. And we are going to be stepping out to Minnesota first. And Jason, I think you're going to take us there. You're going to be our hiking guide. So what do you got for us?
Well, I'll tell you, it's interesting being part of a nonprofit that actually has a positive feel. So I'll tell you, I'm excited about that. So this is from www.startribune.com. The name of the article is Minnesota Humanists Take Out Billboards to Spread the Secular Word. It goes to say the state's largest group of non-believers aims to fight what they see as a push to impose Christian beliefs in government. The billboard that they're fighting, or that they posted, says reject Christian nationalism, keep religion out of government. Now, seeing that is John's first time here, I'm going to go ahead and pop his cherry and pass it to him. John, how do you feel about this article and this billboard in general?
Well, I think that they had a genius or a great idea. I've thought of this as well as one of the things I was thinking about how we might be able to do this nationwide. It takes an awful lot of money. I think it took them like $5K or $7K for the billboard. And I don't know if that's for a month or if that's for how long that is, but it is a real step in the right direction. Something like 89% of people who are driving actually do read billboards. So if this spurs them to start thinking humanist, well, gee, that would be pretty cool. And also when this was posted to Reddit, it got over 50K upchecks. So that's amazing, so yes. And I thought another point the article quoted from the Minnesota Humanist president said, so many people have not heard of it, humanism, that is, and her name is Helen, and of humanism. But as soon as you describe it, most people I know say, oh, that's me. I didn't know there was that name for it. So and since my father was a dedicated humanist, I'm kind of like I am surprised that more people don't know that the humanist movement has been around for a very, very long time. So I'm really happy that this is happening and that they're getting some good press over it. And I think we could do more of this if we just organize a little bit and see if we can't raise some money, Helen.
I feel called out.
I called you out on that. Sorry about that. But they've also the humanists also to do this have established relationships, which is what we can do also with the Unitarians and the humanistic Jewish congregations over a secular. Now they're actually organizing over a secular counter to the National Day of Prayer, which I think is also a good idea. If the nation's going to have a day of prayer, we need to either have our own day or take that and co-opt it so that we can use it. So and so these are some of the points I was thinking about with this. And there are a lot of other things we can do. It would be great to get some of these humanists from Minnesota, since they've already made national news, onto some really good talk shows like The Talk or The View or something like that. There's going to reach a lot more people. Hopefully they're planning that too. And so once we start getting the word out that there are people in this country who don't buy into the BS that these Christian nationalists are selling, or that then maybe they'll get the idea that real patriots of this country don't believe that church should have anything to do with politics. So if you don't believe that out there, then you're not really a patriot. So just think about it. And so the alliances are very important, and we need to pay attention to what other people are doing. And if we find out about any actions or rallies that they're doing that we can attend, we should probably give them that kind of moral support by showing up and supporting their actions. And even if it is a religious group, even if it is the Reformed Jewish synagogue in the area, we should show up. Even if it's the mosque, the local mosque, which we have several in Florida, believe it or not, one here right in Tampa. And they're really good people. They've come to my old church, the Unitarian Church, and given talks and that on things. So it's like we have allies out there. We may not agree with them, but we have allies. Okay. And Helen, I think I'm going to pass this over to you.
So I am very, very happy that the humanists are coming out of the proverbial closet. It is Pride Month, so come out of the closet, y'all. That's the way I kind of look at this. I'm so happy that this billboard got up and people are paying attention. And one of the wonderful things that I found out about the secular government clause that the Humanists of Minnesota pushed by the state legislators said, formed last October, the caucus aims to counter what its members say is a growing push to impose Christian beliefs in government. It includes legislators who are outspoken non-believers, as well as lawmakers who are religious and support the separation of church and state. Co-chair Representative Mike Freiberg of Golden Valley recently invited Humanists of Minnesota Program Direct Coordinator Audrey Kingstrom to the House. Legislative sessions usually begin with a prayer, but Freiberg asked Kingstrom to give a secular invocation. Now, I want to live in that world. I would absolutely love that, all the way from state governments to the national, that it was very inclusionary, that there was no hierarchy as far as religion or secularists or whatever it is that we're here to do our jobs, and we believe in the Constitution and what it stands for. I would love that. And I know me and John live in DeSantis's butthole. So, I think for the two of us to really want this to happen, maybe we could, have a, as John suggested, in our little notey notes, that we could have a secular tea party, but not only a secular tea party, but we could invite people of color, all the queers, everyone, people from different religious groups that understand the separation between church and state. That would be, mwah, I want that. I want that so much. So thank you, Minnesota, for recognizing that we do have a separation of church and state in this country. And I am very excited this happened. So Kelley, what did you think of all this?
Well, first off, it was like you guys said almost everything I had in my notes. So I'm going to have to think up new stuff right now. I did check out Minnesota Humanists, though, and they seem like a really cool group of people. And it just like every large organization like that, there seems to be like a core group of 20, 30 people. And John, I think it was 3 months they rented the two billboards for 3 months for $7,000. So
that's not bad.
And that's a pretty good chunk of money. That's not easy to come by. So, but it goes to show you how just a small group of people, say 20 or 30, can share some volunteer work together and get something like this done. And I think it's awesome that, it's a really good example how you can make a difference in your community by not doing a whole lot of work. I'm sure there was a lot of work putting fundraisers together. But like I said, when you share it between 20, 30 people, it's not that hard. It's not really that good to do it. So I think this is a really good lesson in being able to do that and make a difference in your community. And I think Minnesota Humanists, if you live in Minnesota, you might want to check them out. They seem like a pretty cool group of people to hang out with. So, Jason, you want to take it back again?
Yeah, for sure. It's funny. It's you could look at this and be like, oh, it's just a billboard. But I spent a lot of time on the road in Houston and the greater surrounding area, pretty much from New Braunfels to Beaumont. And it's the home of Lakewood Church, right? Joel Osteen and his cohorts. And what's really interesting is that in the past, give or take about 3 years, they've launched a billboard campaign across Houston. And I know this because I drive. I mean, my truck is my office. So it's really interesting because a lot of the areas that I work in are low SES because you can put a lot of, you can mix industrial and housing kind of in the same area in low SES areas. It's kind of go hand in hand, but that's, besides the point. What's interesting is those billboards are primarily in those areas. And it really made me think about that. I'm like, oh my God, that guy has that crap all over the place. And it's him and his wife with these big, terrifying smiles. And they say, come home to hope. And if that isn't like the glaring antithesis of what the secular humanists are doing, because if anybody knows anything about Lakewood Church, that place is a cesspool for just that capitalistic, Christian, nationalistic, money and Jesus fucking intertwined, just filthiness. I mean, along with those billboards in Houston, we have tons of anti-abortion billboards, pro-life billboards. We have those 1-800 call for truth billboards or whatever, all over the place. And these tons of these that say save yourself from hell. And they're across Texas in general. I've lived here for way too long. So I would really hope that, and maybe this is something that I should be doing here in Houston, especially being part of, the punk rock scene and everything. We have a bunch of activists. This just really highlights the effectiveness of it. Like the stats that John brought up. I mean, it's what we don't realize is that we're repetitive creatures. So we're doing the same shit over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And that thing just becomes part of your fucking daily mental landscape that just gets just
your ritual.
It becomes part of your ritual. So I see those billboards and I'm indoctrinated by those billboards if I like it or not, or I'm thinking about them at least, right? So if we can get that questioning and that critical reasoning, like here's all your bullshit, critical thinking, and then there's the rest of your day, then maybe we could, I don't know, maybe, and if it's $7,000 over 3 months, $3,500 a month for 30 people, that's not so bad. And in Houston, I'm sure there's some areas we can get it for pretty cheap, right? And I don't know, might even be worth it. I think any type, especially, Helen brought up, Happy Pride Month. Obviously, I'm celebrating it right now. Visibility and visibility is key, right? I mean, yay, John, look, that's what side are you on? There you go. And I turned around. I don't know what's happening. And, with Kelley, who is our token straight friend, we love you, bro. It's okay. It's okay.
I love you.
You're
guys.
not as cool as us.
Your
Kelley.
lifestyle's
That's the problem.
okay.
You're not as cool.
We accept you for who
We accept
you
you
are.
exactly.
We accept you for who you are, and you just remember that you are in the midst of all the gay spores around you, and you
Watch
might
out.
catch
They're
something.
floating around. Watch out.
Yeah, I was
So-
thinking about that. I'm gonna end up catching the gay.
Oh, watch out. Watch out. I'm fast.
It's going to be RuPaul's Drag Race on Twitter. I guarantee it.
but look, I digress. I think with visibility, so it's like John and I have talked before in the past about like me being apprehensive about coming out for things, and him being apprehensive about coming out. And Helen and I have talked about it, and even Kelley and I have talked about it before too. And I think with the atheist thing that and humanism and all that stuff, there needs to be visibility, right? And if you set something up as a beacon, what was that movie with the guy and the ghost that played baseball? If you build something, they'll show up. That whole thing, yeah. So I mean, it's more or less. I think that's what we should be doing.
That was one of the you say that, and that was one of the things I found when I started a nonprofit organization. And we knew we needed more people to help, but we didn't know how to find those people. And we just put an ad in the paper saying that we were having a meeting at our local library, and they showed up. All the people we needed to help, they all just showed up because they saw that the meeting announcement, and they were interested too. They were waiting for somebody else just to put that announcement in the paper.
Yeah. Well, that's ACA did that. I just finished my internship with the ACA. Yay, graduation. But I had to do a little report on ACA, and they did that. They started putting out advertisements. They started little meetups and this, that, and the other. And then now here we are years and years and years later, and it's just thousands of people's lives have been affected by it and continually be affected by it in real time. And you see how it affects people, and it's really neat. So yeah, something like that. It's just those little, and think about it. We have the internet now. I mean, come on, right? It's amazing. So yeah. It's amazing how information can travel. But I digress. Kelley, I'll pass it on back to you, conductor, sir.
Well, I was going to let John take it next. Go ahead, John.
Oh, yeah. The only thing I have to add is there's, the only limitation on how you can create events and things like that is your own imagination. And, and sometimes you might want to go for the shock value, but usually it's better just to demonstrate your humanity in public. And, so, though I would love to see a sit-in on the governor's lawn of the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, or have a tea party on their lawn. So I'm sitting there going, just spitballing here, but if we can talk them into it, but we want to get national news, that would do it, but you just want to show the common guy on the street that you're not an evil, terrible person, that you're an actual human being. And then they start thinking, well, yeah, you're a human being, but I find myself as a triple threat. I'm a liberal, I'm an atheist, and I'm gay. So
yeah, watch out.
Scary.
It's spooky.
You are scary. Spooky.
Well, I mean, I agree with you, man. I think it's we're normal. Like everybody's just a normal person. We're just that term normal. Yeah, this is a normal life experience.
I'm close to normal.
Yeah, well, yeah, Helen. I mean, I said all the people on the.
I think your point is that not being normal is normal.
Not being normal is normal. It's normal. It's normal to just be an individual. I mean, it's just
be yourself.
Yeah. It's really cool.
Be your authentic self.
Yeah. And the more visibility that's allowed, the more you pave that way. It's I need my daughter recently came out of school as both being atheist and gay. At the end of 5th grade, and she lost half her friends, and people told her she was going to hell and she was going to get jumped and all this stuff, and she's just fuck it. So she started like wearing I know she loves metal and this black metal and this band called Cradle of Filth and shit like that, and has hoodies with pentagrams. It's just what she's into, and she just started wearing her shit to school. She's like, fuck it, I don't care anymore. Like, okay, dude. All right. Yeah. Awesome. And she's like, people who don't like me, fuck them. I'm like, oh, okay, Cool.
I know Helen has something she wanted to add to it,
please.
though. What do you got for us, Helen?
I was going to say, like, so as like, this is just another example of people organizing and getting shit done. And as we're going through the articles tonight, this is really what this nice about organizing and getting shit done, because we tend to forget that in this country, that we get a lot of him and haw. Like, I get very frustrated listening to the news. But then I'm reminded that there are people out there that genuinely care about these things, whether they're religious or not, and we have to kind of remember that if we want to do the change, we have to do the work. And this is an example of that. So that was the only thing I wanted to say, because I'm actually very excited for this episode tonight. I'm in a much better mood than I've been in the past few weeks. So, like if you're not happy, burn some shit down, not literally, but like, do the activism stuff, because
we can't approve of that.
Don't do anything.
We can't
illegal,
endorse burning.
people. Yeah, don't do anything that's gonna like cause burning, because that's bad. Arson is bad.
No arson.
We at the ACA do not promote arson.
Yeah, please. I'm so glad you said that.
Thank you.
My God.
Yeah, it's a little bit troublesome.
Oh my God.
I said it. I made the disclaimer. It's on you if you do it, but don't.
But don't. Definitely don't.
Oh my God.
No, that doesn't solve anything. Creates many more problems than it solves.
It smells real bad too. So.
Oh
Yeah.
Damn.
You don't want to add to more pollution of the planet.
No.
You don't want to be
No.
that person.
I've got enough forest fire smoke up here right now. Myself.
Right? Like, don't make Kelley more sinus issues.
So
Let's get back on the horse now.
Before we move on, I did kind of want to plug Minnesota Humanists again. They seem pretty cool. They have book reviews, they have lectures, they have monthly meetings. They seem like a really cool group. And if you live in Minnesota, you might want to check them out. So at this point, I would like to thank all of our viewers, the old ones, the new ones, all of them, for getting us over 12K subscribers. And I was thinking just yesterday that why can't we get 15K by the end of the year? That should be attainable. So if you're watching us now and you haven't subscribed yet, get on that. Help us get to 15K. And then once you've subscribed, you can like and ring that bell so you always know when there's another Nonprofits episode premiering. But it is every Sunday at 3 p.m. You knew that, right? Central, 3 p.m. Central. And then you can share the link to the channel with your friends and your family member, the people you work with, all your neighbors, the guy walking down the street right now. Go out there, run out there, give him the link. You might make a lifelong friend. So let's get the word out there and we can start helping with the fundraisers. And were you aware that the Atheist Community of Austin's programming is actually available in a podcast form? If you weren't aware of that, you really should have been. So you can check out the Atheist Experience Network, where you can find all of the ACA shows in podcast form. The flagship show, the Nonprofits, is obviously the best one, but you can find them by subscribing at tiny.cc/AEN podcasts, and you can listen to all those other shows too. Truth Wanted, Talk Heathen. I think there's one called The Atheist Experience, and all the other ACA shows. Don't miss a single episode. You have my permission to go over there and binge listen to them all. So go over there and have a lot of fun. And with that, I want to take us on a little walk out to California, my home state, where I was actually born at. And this is a story that was published by the Daily Beast. It happened in Redlands, California. The story was written by Victor Swezzi. I hope I didn't just totally butcher his last name. But it's a story about a woman named Amber Easley who decided to attend her first school board meeting. And she stood up, talked about what she believed in, and some Proud Boys followed her home and kind of started a whole campaign against her, even putting out posters with a Hitler mustache, which I find really ironic. I'm going to talk about later. Mm-hmm. But her and a bunch of other mothers got back together and they stood up to the Proud Boys and they won. So Helen, let's start out with you. What do you have to say?
Okay, so before I make a comment on this article, I want to point out that last week the leader of the Proud Boys, Enrique Tararo, and 4 fellow members were convicted of third-degree conspiracy and plan to prevent members of Congress and law enforcement from discharging their duties on January 6th. And they're facing up to 20 years in prison. So can we all applaud? Let's all applaud.
It was for sedition.
Yay.
Sedition.
Yeah, for sedition.
So
which is like one step below treason.
Yeah, one step below treason, but I'll take it. I will take it. So I want to remind, I'm sure no Proud Boys is watching this show or any seditionists, but if you happen to be watching this show, I would like to remind you that we live in a free country. And when you try to do things like take over the government, there are consequences. So maybe you shouldn't be a butthead. That's all I'm going to say about that. But moving on to this article, I thought it was fantastic. What really got to me was the fact that this mother, and then she was basically going to school board meetings and hearing, people from the alt-right show up and start saying all these horrible things. And she realized that if she didn't put some water on this fire, it was going to burn through the entire district. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was amazing that she was just like, well, no, I'm not going to do this. And she gathered like a bunch of other parents and concerned citizens and was like, no, you are not going to come into the school board meetings and try to put your terrible ideologies into our school system. No, so again, and as a mom, I get it, because there can be a lot of bad ideas. And like, I've been kind of lucky because it wasn't so bad when my kids were in school. But now a lot of parents are like, well, no. And they're now starting to get the fire. And they do have the power to make a change in their school system. That's why there's a parent-teacher association. That is why parents have to get involved in their schools. So for me, hearing this story, I was like, yeah, like, damn mofos, like stand up for your rights. So I thought this was really, really, really admirable. So Jonathan, what did you think of it?
I think there was actually a little bit to unpack around this story, but of course the links are in the chat, so or in the comments section or in the show notes. Sorry, gets me a little while to get my brain gear. The hamster running around in there has to get the thing. Where she, this is amazing to me. This woman has no fear. I know. And I always respect that in anybody. No fear at all. And these people are violent. They have done violent things. They have committed all sorts of violent acts across the country. And she just said, get off my lawn, basically. And I love that. I just love it to death. And she held her ground. And then that's a bad thing to say from Florida. But anyway, she did. She was a mama bear out to protect all her community's cubs. And this is a window into how we should be. I don't say should be, but we could be. I know some of us are that way and have confronted people when they were being jerks. But it's just amazing to me that I think there are a lot more people out there like her, and all they need is an excuse to get together. She networked like a lot. She got the labor unions involved, the Teamsters union, local union was involved, the teachers union was involved. I mean, she got a lot of some heavy hitters.
Hell yeah.
To join her organization and to work with her. So and like all cowards, the little idiots scurried away and went back under their rock. So I'm kind of like, good for you. Stand up to the bullies, push them down the stairs, whatever you got to do. Well, of course, no physical violence.
No.
But just make sure that you are doing all you can to get rid of these clowns. So
it's you don't really need to do any physical violence. You just have to expose them for who they are for the most
that's
part.
it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Just confront them, say, that's BS. And you're talking an awful lot like a guy in the 1920s and 30s. That normally, well, some of them would love that. But so I would be careful about that. But I'm just going to say that from there that I have an excerpt from the article that, and this is about a representation of things we were up against. A network of alt-right hate groups, right-wing Christians, and conspiracy theorists have launched a crusade to reshape public schools in their own image. So they've contested school board seats, called for book bans, which we will talk about, denied the existence of LGBTQ plus children, and used scripture as a justification. So again, the stand up for these people whenever you can. Go to your school board meetings if you can, and just confront these people every chance you get, and they will eventually just crawl back under their rocks.
Yep, I agree.
That's all I had. I'm going to pass it to Jason.
Well, man, this was real interesting. Talk about these Proud Boys because it's funny because they wear a brand called Fred Perry. So I grew up and I'm still involved in the hardcore punk scene. And Fred Perry is a brand tends to be worn primarily by a group called skinheads. Now, not all skinheads are Nazis. Primarily, they're not. But you have different colors a lot of times. It's kind of traditional, or not traditional, but it's kind of an old way of doing things where you'd have guys wearing red Fred Perrys and they'd be Nazis or whatever. That's neither here nor there. But, with the Proud Boys, their whole thing is a gold and blue. It's interesting to me because I grew up around a bunch of boneheads. I grew up around a bunch of Nazis. We had in Texas, we had the Confederate Hammerskins, or we had just a bunch of boneheads running around Houston. And these guys would show up to shows in packs. And this is just how it would be. I remember at this one gig, you had a bunch of guys and we were just running around and having fun in the circle pit. And these guys just started running around Sieg Heiling in this circle pit. I'm not endorsing this, but it did not end well for them. And the thing is with our scene and with what we do musically and the things that we do, we don't allow that shit they're just an extension of that movement. That's something that we've seen grow in the American punk rock scene. I play in a band called Verbal Abuse, and we have a big kind of skinhead punk following as well. And it's like traditional, and we have a bunch of sharps, which are skinheads against racial prejudice. A bunch of my skinhead buddies, they were at the BLM protest and acted as a human shield between the cops and the protesters. So that's kind of what our group and our people do. Singer of my band, one of my bands does that. So I understand this arena very well. And what John said hit the nail on the head. These are pathetic, weak, scared, spineless, cowardice, sadly proclaiming straight men, and they run around in groups and they put colors on them, and they have to cover themselves in logos, and they have to hide in the pack while pretending to be alphas, and it's just atrocious and pathetic and weak and disgusting. And all it is a media friendly KKK now. If we remember, I think John mentioned, or the 20s and the 30s. I forget who mentioned that, but that's who it was okay to be part of those organizations at those times. That's all it is now. It's disgusting, and the fact that it gets any type of gravitas or media attention, it just astounds me. Kelley, how do you feel about this? You're muted, Kel.
I did it again. I was coughing because I've been dealing with that smoke. So
sorry,
I muted
man.
myself. So you guys, no,
sucks,
I'm
buddy.
so sorry. You guys, I agree with everything that you guys have said so far. And, I really do not like these people. And I mentioned earlier, I wanted to say something about the irony of them putting the Hitler mustache on this poor woman. These guys are neo-fascists. We all know it. Some of these guys even have Nazi tattoos. We all know it. I've seen them. there's no denying it. And it's like they use Hitler as a way to get people to turn against their opponents. It's like they know that people don't like the very person that they are actually looking up to. And that's what I find ironic, because we all know who they really worship. We all know it. So to use a tactic like that just goes to show you that they know they're wrong. They know people don't like them. And that I found that really, really ironic. I have mentioned before a little bit about the Proud Boys and how they've been focusing on winning seats in like school districts and city councils, county boards, or at the very least showing up to meetings at health department public meetings and library board meetings in an attempt to inject their toxic ideas in the local government, because they want to try to make it normal. This is their attempt to normalize it.
Yep.
So they can springboard on to larger and more important offices. So when you see these women here doing this is awesome, right? 2 years ago, this strategy was working. It still is in some areas, but there's people like these women right here that did this that are making it fail there too. Unfortunately, in my home area, up here and way up in Michigan, it is working still. We've had a Proud Boy candidate that got elected to our school board recently. I'm kind of bummed about that, but a lot of things have changed in the last 2 years. And the biggest one probably is the public becoming more aware of this going on and not letting it happen, right? Because they're seeing who these people are. They want to stop it from happening, and they're actually going out and doing it. And it's awesome to see it. Helen, you want to add something to it?
Yeah. And what I found really like you mentioned the irony of like putting a Hitler mustache on this woman, which fine. Like it just shows the stupidity and irony, of these people, because they are the worst of the worst. And the way I kind of look at it is that these people are losing. That's the reality of it. I know that there's a lot of upcry about them and they are infiltrating, certain places of government, and we have to fight against it, because the only way to make that we're going to defeat them. But they're in the death throes. And when you're in the death throes, you will do anything you can to hold on to a tiny little bit of imaginary power that you have, and we're now starting to realize that if we let them bowl over what we consider a democracy and things that are fair and equal for all people, like, you have every right to be an asshole, but you can't force other people into your asshole ideology. And
everybody else has
catching on to that.
Everybody else has the right to stand up about you being an asshole too.
Exactly.
I'm sorry to cut you off, Helen, but I thought
that's
that
fine.
was an
No, I
important
agree
thing
with you
to say.
120%. So they're in this death throes, and unless we do the work to make that not happen, they will bowl over. And the fact that this mama was like, I'm not having that, and gathered all these groups and was like, we're going to push them out because we do not want this in our school district. That's what does it. So kudos to her and all the amazing work her and all the organizations did. So I give snaps. Thank you. It was great. Okay. I don't know who wants to take it. Who wants to take it?
I mean,
John
I
does.
have one or two little comments real quick. And, and one of the things is that these people really quickly got experts in social media coordination and recruitment. The SRS, or Save Reading Schools Network, starting a database of the people who are on the bad side of things, the neo-Nazis and the Proud Boys and that, so that they can recognize them when they're running for office. They successfully defeated an alt-right candidate for school board by supporting the incumbent school board member with lots of, just campaigning and making sure everybody understood who they were fighting. And so this was really illuminating for me, because I used to work in campaigns back in college, and that it was part of my degree in political science. And I can tell you that sometimes that stuff can get very elitist. But this kind of grassroots work almost always works, and people don't pay attention to it enough. Bernie Sanders paid some attention to it, and he managed to do a lot of fundraising and outperform a lot of people with it. So it does work. There are examples of it, not just him, but other people who've done that. And even in areas that they are not the majority, there are still people in the red states that will support this sort of thing. So, hey, there's no reason to give up. Just find the people you can find, do what you can do, and every little bit helps. So 5 minutes a week, 10 minutes a week, like Kelley usually says, is all you need to start stemming the tide. That's all I want to say.
I usually say a half hour or an hour.
Yeah.
You need a little bit more than 5 or 10 minutes. But
me, 10 minutes, my attention goes.
Well, Jason, did you want to take us out?
I'd love to. Just to kind of pin a little bow on what John was saying. Giving time is, I think, crucial to sum up kind of these last two discussions that we've been going over. And I know all four of us here give time. I know that for a fact. We all four of us give volunteer time to humanism on a weekly and sometimes daily basis with a lot of hours. If it's from, I can't even go through the amount of things that Helen does, or John does on ACD, or Kelley does on ACD and ACA, or the amount of shit. I mean, seriously, all of us do a lot of shit. And all of us are also have lives and families and businesses and significant others and shit like that. So it can be done, and where, if you don't have that time, that's where money helps, so I know from knowing the people who run the ACA that this is worth putting time and money into, this is worth putting effort into, because people get affected, so if you find I just encourage anybody listening to find somewhere, especially here, but if not here, find somewhere to put your time and or money into that will affect your life, maybe now or in the future. Because I'm looking at my 11-year-old daughter who stands up to people at her school, and we've had to get vacation Bible school flyers removed out of the school multiple times after calling the TEA and threatening them and blah, blah, blah. They finally got my point. You can change things. You just have to be loud about that shit sometimes. So that's all I got, Kelley. Throwing it back to you, man.
Well,
hi, Hunter.
Hi, Hunter.
I'll throw it in there too.
Oh no. She loves these two.
All right. Well, thanks for wrapping that up for us there, Jason. And do you know how to make arrangements? Because if you do, you can arrange to be in Austin on Sunday, June 25th. Consider joining us in the studio for the live audience at the ACA Free Thought Library for live broadcasts of Talk Heathen and the Atheist Experience. Doors open at noon on Sunday. Parking is wherever you can find a legal spot after the lot is full. It's a pretty small lot. You need to get there early, or you're going to need to stay there late to let everybody let you out. And if you can't make it there this month, we will continue to broadcast live from the library the last Sunday of every month, so you can plan next month to throw the kids in the back of the SUV and all come on down. If you want to find out more about the live broadcasts, you can keep watching this show, or you can check out the website at atheist-community.org for news and information as we expand the in-studio offerings in the future. And have you ever said to yourself, I really love the content the ACA creates, but I wish there was a way that I could get it all the time. Well, you know what, Self? I got you covered, because you can check out the 24/7 AXP TV live stream. You can tune in any time of day to experience a constant stream of shows, clips, specials from the 25 or 26 seasons of the Atheist Experience. All you have to do is tune in to tiny.cc/AXP TV live stream. Yeah, I'm sorry, AXP TV, the live, forget the live stream, it's easier than that. And you can discover some of your, or see some of your favorite hosts, and discover some of those hosts that you don't even know about. There's a lot of good ones from the past. I miss a lot of them. So yeah, go ahead and check that out. There's also a really good community of people that hang out in the chat room there. I hang out there quite a bit myself. It's a lot of fun. Go check it out. And our hiking guide for our next step down to Tennessee is going to be Jonathan. So John, take it away.
John, you are muted.
I'm sorry. I'm going to start.
You just
turning
pulled
into
a Kelley.
I'm pulling a Kelley on you.
I can't tell y'all apart anymore.
Well, he's younger than me. Okay. But down in Tennessee, they passed a ban on drag shows, and it was a pretty extensive piece of crap. But the Tennessee drag ban was struck down by U.S. District Judge Thomas Parker.
Hell yeah.
As unconstitutionally vague and substantially overbroad. Simply put, no majority of the Supreme Court has held that sexually explicit but not obscene speech receives less protection than political, artistic, or scientific speech. And since it also has drag as an art form, and has been since the Bard, Shakespeare, where all women weren't allowed to be actors, so all the female parts in this early 1600s and late 1500s were men, and so drag is a part of our ancient culture as well. So it's just one of those things that that they said, okay, this is art, you can't do this. And this judge was appointed by Clinton, so it's no surprise that this happened. However, his legal reasoning behind it is actually sound, of course, because he's actually a judge and not a shill. But I'm sorry, I shouldn't make opinions like that. But, well, it's just, I'm just dealing with facts there. But I agree with the judge that this would not pass the smell test, even with SCOTUS, even with the Supreme Court. So I think a lot of the other draconian laws, like school prayer and the 10 Commandments in schools and other such draconian BS, will meet similar fates as they work their way through the courts. And so I'm thinking these extremists will soon find out there are limits to how far both the American public and the judicial system will permit them to push this stuff. So I'm very, very happy that this happened. Now it's still under threat by the Attorney General to Tennessee to appeal it up the chain of federal courts. But I think that if he thinks about it seriously, he'll find that, and I'm not a lawyer, folks, but I think he'll find that the courts aren't real friendly to people who are trying to oppress people by passing laws. Yep. So, and by ignoring the Bill of Rights and designating certain people as an emotional thing, they gave no real evidence that what they were claiming was happening. So, and they can't, because it's not happening. So it's like, boom, they said, you can't restrict an artist from doing his art. So, okay. So anyway, I'm going to pass this off to Helen and see where she sits on this one.
So yummy. So I kind of love that Judge Thomas Parker basically said, okay, you want to ban drag, but you don't have any legs to stand on, because a lot of these bills are being passed into a lot of legislators. They're intentionally vague. and they're too broad. So there's no actual thing they can actually point to shows that it's showing any real harm to the citizens within the states or districts.
Mhm.
And that's the point, because then people that don't like, queer people or people of color or someone, whatever it pops into their brains, and they can go like, think of the children. And everybody's like, yeah, well, we are thinking of the children, and having people like play dress up and read a book to kids isn't causing harm to them.
No.
And adults are smart. They're not going to bring their kids to a gay club, to a drag show, when you can't even get in if you're 21 plus, or you have to be 18 and you can't drink. So that's not happening. So I'm really, really glad this judge saw it for what it was, because it is just a nothing burger. They're basically like, I don't like people that are gay, and I don't like drag, and I don't like anyone that isn't falling to this cis normative, I want to make babies culture. And they're terrified because, oh my goodness, like, what if someone dresses up in drag and I want to have sex with them? What does that mean? So I'm like, I am sorry. I'm like, we've had drag since Shakespeare, because drag means dressing, representing a girl, which was wrote in the margins of Shakespeare plays. So get over it. Drag exists. It's been around for a very, very long time, and they're going to exist, and they are wonderful. So I am so glad this judge cut it down, especially with all the crap that's going on in Tennessee. So Thank you. Thank you very, very, very much. So I'm very happy. So anyway, Kelley, I know you probably have an opinion on this. I know you're probably a little bit happy.
I do have I have all kinds of things to say on this one.
Please tell me things. I want to hear things.
Believe it or not. Well, I love the reason it was upheld by the, or not upheld by the, but reversed by the judge, because it was unconstitutionally vague and substantially overbroad. And I honestly didn't find that surprising at all. And when you talk to people, I think we've all seen people being interviewed at far right rallies on the inner tubes, and a lot of them will, like, did everybody see the guy that was really against CRT? He hated it, but he didn't want to get into the details of it, and it turned out that he didn't know anything about it at all, but he was sure he hated it.
Couldn't define it.
Right. He couldn't define it. And that's what's going on here. They can't define this because if they did, it would be bigotry.
Yep.
And that's the rub. And that's why all of these bills are probably going to end up failing, because because the language is overbroad. It is unsubstantial, and they're not going to be able to figure out the language in a neutral way without being bigoted. And it's just going to kill the bill from the beginning by doing that. Jason, you have something you want to add to that?
Yeah, I'm going to add 2 points. One, I like what you said about the vagueness of the language. And I think with all 4 of us being active with ACD, we are very familiar with vagaries. I feel like we interact with them on a pretty consistent basis. And if people were to truly define and really admit what they're talking about, it would come out to be bigotry and isms and hatred and ethnocentric, misogynistic, just trash. So that leads into the second point that I have, is that in making these assessments now, we're setting precedent, right? So hopefully, like you were saying, Kelley, this will be a trickle down thing that starts happening now, or whatever direction it fucking trickles. I mean, so I hope
it becomes more like
spreads,
a spider web than a
like,
trickle.
Like a happy explosion of non-shittiness, So I don't know. I'm really impressed with I say this. I'm impressed with the judge doing what was correct. I mean, I laugh at myself. That's like,
He
good
did
job being
his job, Jason.
That's
He
yeah. That's
did
like
his job.
That's like celebrating a parent for feeding their child, right? I mean,
Yes.
it's just fucking. So yeah. So yeah. I mean, it's there's really not much to say on this. I'm surprised that we're talking about positive things on the nonprofits. I don't really know how to like say too many things without ranting about shit that pisses me off and makes me want to throw my chair. It's kind of hard for me, and I feel unsettled right now. So I'm just going to go ahead and pass it back to John and get some more of his feelings about the situation, because I don't know how to not be mad about things.
All this positivity is fueling with your punk
I'm having a hard
ass.
time with it, honestly.
With your
Honestly, yeah.
I've already picked all my nails off and ground down 2 teeth. So you know.
Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to mention a few of the details here that I didn't go over. The Memphis-based theater group Friends of George, which is a drag performing group, and gay friendly and that sort of thing, has a lot of LGBTQ type characters and performances. Their statement that for proving that this causes harm, it says it imperils the lives of drag performers and seeks to oppress queer culture statewide. And that speaks volumes about how this lawsuit progressed, because it was nailing it on the head. You're trying to repress us. You're oppressing us. And I think when the judge had to consider that, he had to also consider that there's no reason for this, right?
No,
and so it became a big nothing burger. There's no there. And it's difficult for the state to prove that the government has an interest in banning a group's artistic expression. And actually, in another article, that was actually said by one of the people from the theater, or was it the judge? I can't remember. But then the opposition to this, district attorney, they, the guys who were named personally in the suit had a lot of they managed to negotiate that the governor himself and the attorney general would be dropped from the suit, and they pursued the local attorney general for doing the damn thing. Mm-hmm. But all in all, it's a great victory for us. So
it really is.
And it's, as you said, Jason, it sets precedent. Kelley, absolutely on point, sets precedent. And it was so transparently, simply bigoted. Good for us. So,
Yep.
With that, back to you, Kelley. I think that kind of
okay. We can come right back to me. I don't have a problem with that. I did check out the judge a little bit, Tommy Parker. It sounds like a good old boy named Tommy Parker, but he was appointed by Trump, which I thought was interesting. Mm-hmm. I've met quite a few people where I live.
I made a mistake there.
My county voted 78% for Trump. So I've met quite a few Trump supporters here, and these pure-blooded Trump supporters will believe anything that guy says. Whatever he says, it's the truth to them. So I'm wondering if people know about Trump appointing this judge, because he's obviously a good judge if Trump said so, and then he makes this decision that they're so far against. Are the ERs throughout the state of Tennessee going to be filled up with people who are no longer able to function mentally because they're suffering from such bad cognitive dissonance? Because that's what it would seem like to me. I just thought it was just crazy that if you try to put all of this together, it doesn't make any sense to me. But the way that the right thinks, some of the right people who I have met in my area anyway, because some of them are really, really far right. Helen, you want to add something to it?
Yeah, and I also want to make a comment about what you said about Trump appointing this judge. And there's a little part of me that was like, well, this guy's a dum-dum. And let me see if I can finagle, show him that I'm a bootlicker. And then it's like, okay, I'm going to point you to the state court. And it's like, okay, I'm going to do my job exactly as I'm supposed to do my job. So, it could be some of that going on. People do all kinds of things to get the jobs that they want. So, I'm not going to poo-poo on that at all. So I'm kind of like, okay, maybe that happened. And I also want to point out to what this article really reminded me of, that the law is the law. It does not matter what side of the line you're on. That if there is a law that, and this is the job of the judge, to look at the evidence presented, compare it to what is actually going on, and go, you know what? The argument versus the evidence. Sorry, I said that wrong. And then they can go, this is nothing, because this is too unconstitutionally vague, and I cannot give a proper ruling on it. And that gives me hope. That's why we have a separation in this country. And unless you can show precedent or actually any new evidence that's causing harm, you can't pass something like this, because drag doesn't hurt anybody. So there's been no cause of harm. There's been no incident of drag causing harm except for bigots attacking drag queens. Shocking.
You're kidding.
I know.
That is so shocking.
I know. So I'm just saying that,
it is to a straight person like me.
I know. I'm sorry. Well, listen, I'm like, you've caught the gay now.
Sorry, buddy.
Queers.
Yeah. That's every day for the rest of us. Yeah.
Look, there's this.
To me, drag and glitter and RuPaul's drag race and assless chaps. Just going forward. Just embrace it. Embrace it. Anyway, Jason, my fellow queer.
We've got to.
Do you got an opinion on how wonderful this is? I'm in such a good mood. This is a great show.
we got this real good spot out here called Tony's Corner Pocket that has a drag show night, and it's a lot of fun. Generally, they'll couple it with like amateur strip night, and it's a lot of fun there, man. And they've got a real great outside bar. It's nice, like a cedar bar. We're real pretty out there. Well, I mean, outside, inside's just a party. I'm cautiously optimistic, right? I want to think that the law is there to work for people. I have a hard time believing that in a lot of cases, but this is a little beacon of hope. I do like the idea of that guy faking it till he made it and then doing whatever the fuck he wanted to do. I like that. That's a nice little myth that I could add to this story. That's okay.
I can make up my own conspiracies, Jason.
Christians do it all the time,
Right.
Christians do it all the time. I'm good with it.
Stuff.
But the thing that I think that really stood out to me is that there was the admission that it was targeted, and that it was obviously focused on a specific group, and it was focused on a marginalized group. And I think this guy was smart enough to realize that once we got out of this fucking stupor, maybe that we're in right now, allowing this bullshit. Because think about it. Since the beginning, and I just did a report. One of my last reports I turned in, I guess, in May for school. At that point, I think it was like 400 some odd proposed anti-LGBTQ plus bills have been proposed in the United States. I feel like I'm walking around with a target on my back. This shit's ridiculous. And it's, I feel like my daughter's walking around with a target on her back, and my friends are walking around with targets on their backs, and it's just wild. But I also feel like again, I'm never optimistic, but I feel like this is almost like the death. I'm just gonna scream until I die, and I'm hoping that that's the case. And maybe this judge had some foresight in knowing that like this isn't gonna look good in a couple of years. Maybe they saw the trend and they saw how the tide was turning. And because if we continue pushing the way that we're pushing, and we have visibility the way that we have we need just more, we need it to be more normalized. We need media to be we need RuPaul's Drag Race, like you mentioned, like kind of kiddingly, we need that to be mundane. We need that to be boring. That needs to be just like, whatever. Yeah. Like, oh, mom, dad, I'm gay. Okay. Cool. Yeah, that's great. People need to like just not care anymore. Like the world that I'm looking forward to is that I can like hit on somebody, and no matter what gender or lack thereof, they're not offended. They're just like, oh, thanks, I appreciate it. I'm just not into you, or I don't like tall guys or something. I don't know, or I'm not really into tattoos or something, or I don't know, it's at least I get like an honest answer. Oh, you stay away from her. I don't know, it's just weird. So maybe that guy had some foresight, or maybe the dude actually cares about the law, and he saw how disgusting it really is. And I know living here in Texas, it's in working with oil and gas and working with the people I work with, and how openly homophobic they are with their language, and other phobic they are with their language. And you hear N-bombs dropped on a daily basis and other things like that. The need for things like this happening in places like Tennessee and Florida and shit like that, that needs to happen, because again, that's empowering. We've been talking about visibility throughout this segment, or throughout the show, not just a segment, but throughout the show. And this is just another way to be like, see, motherfucker, see, it's okay. You're just stupid, and somebody cared about what you said when they really shouldn't have cared. So John, my fellow partner in crime of being queer, or somehow, what do you think about this, man? You want to go ahead and wrap this up? John, you're muted, my man.
You're muted again.
Did it again. I'm trying to turn into Kelley. I just admire him so much.
You're just morphing into him.
You get to grow your hair a lot longer.
I know. I have to start growing my balding pate down to that. But yeah, I just wanted to say that, when judges actually look at the law and how it applies, and that it's supposed to apply equal treatment under the law, they find that a lot of these things are just indicated or directed at a oppressing or suppressing a group of people, and that is starkly and totally against the Constitution.
Oh,
so
yeah.
And they always point to the First Amendment when it suits them, or the Second Amendment when it suits them. They don't even read things like the 14th. And I'm kind of like, I used to carry a copy of the Constitution and the amendments in my breast pocket, just because people would be so ignorant of it that they just shocks me. But this judge knew exactly what he was doing. He knew what he's about. And there's no there, like I said. So it's no surprise that a judge appointed by anyone would throw out the law. It's just not a surprise, because under the law in the United States, they'd have to change the Constitution before they could get something like this to stand. The same thing about the church invading schools, things like that. It will all sort out. And the more it sorts out, the more these kinds of things will start to fade away, because once they know they can't win with that, it's going to fade out. So
Agreed.
That's how I'm going to leave it.
That's good.
All right. Thanks, John. Before we leave, though, I want a quick note. A federal judge in Florida, appointed by Bill Clinton, so this is an old dog that learned a new trick, just put a stay on the gender-affirming care ban for minors. Unfortunately, it was only for 3 minors, but he did say that they would suffer irreparable harm if not given the treatment. So hopefully that'll expand to more minors in the future.
I'll take it.
So,
I will take it. And I also, before you go, Kelley, just one quick thing. There are organizations like American Atheists that are keeping track of these bills and pushing against them. So keep that in mind. So when you're feeling a little bit frustrated about these things. So there are people behind the scenes that you're not thinking about that are keeping track of these things. So I'm sorry. I just wanted to get that in before we wrapped up.
That's fine.
Thank you, Helen.
Yeah.
And now I want to mention that for the low price of just 99 cents, that's right, just 99 cents a month, you can click at the join button below the video. That'll give you access to special chat emojis, and it'll make your name go from a boring black in the chat to a really cool Kelley Greene. And, I was walking down the street yesterday, and this guy ran across me, and he said, hey, haven't I seen you on the nonprofits before? And I got all proud of myself, and I was like, yeah, well, yes, you have. And he goes, yeah, I thought I saw you on one episode. I didn't like that episode, but I was wondering, do you guys sell any merch? And I was like, oh, darn, do we sell merch? We have got a ton of merch. And if you go to tiny.cc/merch ACA, you can find all kinds of cool items like t-shirts, hoodies, coffee mugs, beanies, phone cases, tote bags, which apparently they don't have in some parts of Great Britain. And all the ACA shows feature a special limited edition item every month. So be sure to check out our store for NP merchandise and merch from all the other great ACA shows. Yes, folks, buy our shit. It's really good. They're quality shirts. Check them out. And this month's special shirt is a half-star book review of all things the Bible, with a really good reason why the Bible only gets a half a star. So check it out, fans. It's really, really good. And that is going to lead us into our last segment, and we are going to be stepping with Helen Greene. Take it away, Helen.
Yes, so this article comes from LGBTQ Nation by John Russell. This was published on June 2nd. And a school district bans the Bible after indecent materials complaint. So there was a parent in Utah that was going through, kind of wanted to respond to the book bans. And they thought that, maybe we should report on the Bible, and got it removed from elementary and junior high school. So I definitely have more to say about this, but I want to go, since I want choosing a person, we're going to go to Kelley. Kelley, how do you feel about this article? Because you didn't tell me where I'm supposed to go.
Yes, that was my bad. That was my bad. I was working on the timing. But this is our second case of making the language too overbroad, isn't it?
Yes.
The Sensitive Materials in Schools Act bans pornographic or indecent, quote unquote, material, and the Bible certainly fits that description. So one thing I noticed about this, when I look at the list of these books that are being challenged and trying that these people want banned, it seems like the only kind of sex they have a problem with are same-sex relationships. And I thought that was kind of telling. I mean, they've even banned same-sex penguins, for crying out loud. They weren't having any sex. They weren't doing anything. They were just raising a baby, right? But I did check. I went and looked, and there is absolutely no gay sex in the Bible. So apparently, that's what makes that book okay, right? Do you think there's an agenda there? Maybe, John. What do you think?
Oh my, yes. This is kind of a mixed feeling bag for me, and the reason is that I am an advocate for no book banning at all. I did find some information on it. There's a follow-up article that I was made aware of just prior to the show that does have a comment on it from the FFRF on that they don't agree with book banning of any kind, but they wanted to illustrate how stupid book banning was by banning their favorite book, the opposition's favorite book. And trust me, they are mainly Christians. Anyway, so the sequence of events is pretty telling as well. A complaint was filed with the review committee appointed by Davis School District. Review committee decided that the Bible does not contain sensitive material under Utah's HB 374, which is the law against, allows them to ban books without even having had the person wanting to ban them read the book or actually even look at the book. They don't have to have ever seen the book. So literally they can just judge a book by its cover, but they don't even have to see the cover. They just have to figure out that they don't like it for whatever reason, which is almost overwhelmingly are books that contain LGBTQ issues or Black issues or other racial issues. So the next thing was the committee decides that the book would be removed from elementary and junior high schools and kept in high school. The FFRF is now challenging that, saying that is, they shouldn't have that even for high school students because of the they gave 8 pages of Bible quotes to them, though you don't need any quotes from a book to get it banned by other people, but they gave like 8 pages of this. And so they, and the law was, and it's just to illustrate that the law is a bad faith effort to get the LGBTQ books and Black authored books off school library shelves by not requiring the complainant to have seen the book, much less read it, to point out what they object to. So yeah, this is it was a blatant attempt at just at censorship. And though the 8-page list of Bible instances, the parent involved that were unacceptable under the law, the parent involved could probably find more, but a skosh of overkill involved in that, though maybe they should. Utah Parents United, a conservative group that advocates for parental rights, in quotes, in education, has led the effort to ban the books in schools everywhere. So we have a knowledge of them. Just some slight statistics, and then I'm going to pass this off. There were the Davis School District has had complaints about 52 books out of a total of 280 for the state. So mostly about Black and LGBTQ issues. So you can see that this is like, this particular school district has had a lot of complaints compared to, the rest of them.
Yeah.
And I won't go into, I was going to, but I'm not going to go into the fallacies and rhetorical devices involved in their rebuttal to this, because it was just so blatantly obvious to any of us that if you really want to look it up, there's some websites where you can look up fallacies and rhetorical techniques, and you'll find all of the ones that this just blatantly tries to propagandize people about. So, and I'm going to pass this off to Jason, I believe.
I'm probably going to be the unpopular one of the group tonight. I think this is a shame, honestly. I mean, what are they going to do? They're going to ban kids wearing crosses around their neck, rosaries with a depiction of Jesus being crucified. I mean, that thing is a normalized, culturally acceptable belief. Like to remove Christianity out of, to me, the idea of banning a book, to me, playing the same game, the same dirty fucking game that these people are playing, I just feel like you're lowering yourself. I cannot get behind this one bit. It actually makes me mad. I think it's I think it's like a typical movie situation to where you have the hero fighting the villain, and you're like, I have these like morals I'm not going to cross, and then he's like, actually I'm going to cross them now, but then he eventually becomes a shitbag too, right? So to me it doesn't. It's of course, like the good job, stupid Christians, blah blah blah, but like honestly, it's terrible that any book ever gets banned, especially books about African American folks, about Black folks, about gay folks, about queer folk, about anything. It's terrible. It's disgusting. Any religious book, it's all disgusting. And of course they're just following the law, and it's just the thing. But to me, the law is fucked, and it's disgusting, and it should be abolished, and it should be thrown out. Any type of book banning is atrocious to me. If you continue to infantilize children, and especially middle schoolers, I mean, these kids are 14, 15 years old. I mean, these kids are like, I know children who are like doing DJ work on and like writing music on computers. My daughter's 11 and she's smarter than I mean, we're going to continue to infantilize them, and we're going to use some type of thing and fight fire with fire. I don't know. I could ramble on and on about it. I cannot get behind it. And I'm actually kind of mad at FFRF for doing this. And I cannot get behind this one bit. So Kelley, how do you feel about this?
I agree with you. I don't think any book should be banned. However, they made the rules. If the rules are going to be there, and they're going to ban books, I want this to be fair. That's it. That's all I want. I don't want any books banned. But if these people are going to make these rules to have these books banned, let's point out how bad this rule is by banning their books too. The same books that they think should be on the shelf that still fit the description of what they want to ban. And I think that's important, is that we're staying within the rules that they made. We're pointing out the absurdity that they've put upon this topic. It's crazy, it's silly, it's stupid. And this is exactly why we stand up for a separation of religion and government. We need to stand up when biased laws based on someone's religious beliefs get in the way of personal freedom. I know it often looks like we're losing, but the courts have been mostly on our side when you look at it. They were in Tennessee, they have been just were in Florida. And I know this isn't a court, it's just a review, a school board review. But if the review is unbiased, the Bible has to go, just like the other books. I just want them to be treated fairly by this obviously fascist law. Helen, you want to take it?
Like, this is a situation of a popping kettle. Like, and that's the way I kind of look at it, because they came in and they're like, okay, we're going to ban all these books with sexually explicit material, or, material that makes people uncomfortable, which is a point of some material, especially if you're coming from a privileged place, to get an idea of what is, because the idea of a book, especially one that gives you the experience and understandings of somebody else, is supposed to develop empathy. It's supposed to develop a better conscious awareness of who you are and what your role is within society. And these parents were like, well, you're taking away things that have to do with my kid's queer identity. You're taking away things that have to do with people of color, my child of color's identity. Now, if we're going to play ball, the parents were like, okay, you want this book, and this book has incest, bestiality, violence, mass murder, genocide, all these different things in that book. And everybody was saying, like, we don't want offensive material. So under their description of what should be banned, they were like, I'm going to present it to the school board and say, these are my complaints. So they're not, and I don't agree with Bible. I don't agree. I'm 100% with you, Jason. I don't think any book should be banned. I think that any literature should be able to be read and dissected and looked at for what it is. And this is kind of what's happening here. And unfortunately, I wish it didn't came to playing by these assholes' rules. But the school district said, well, we're going to play by these rules. And I find that very frustrating. But I also understand that it's like, well, if you're going to do this, we have to do this. And it's this holier than thou ask, like freedom for me, not for thee. And according to the article, last year, Utah lawmakers passed HB 374, which requires public K-12 schools to remove books containing pornographic or indecent material. Critics say the law has been used to remove books by mostly LGBTQ plus and Black authors from shelves, which we already discussed. And their December 22 Bible challenge, a parent whose name and address were redacted, suggests that the HB 374 makes the bad faith process. So, and I do agree, this is in bad faith. Absolutely. And they're using this to show that you're using to show that you are, if you're going to play by these rules, then everybody gets to play by these rules. So that's kind of where I am right now. It's frustrating. I agree. But I think that we all have to be perfectly aware that if people are going to change things in certain school districts, we have to move forward. So, Kelley, do you want to wrap this up before we close out?
I know Jason had something he wanted to say real quick.
Okay, I'm sorry, Jason. You're making.
No,
sorry,
it's
honey.
okay. I could rant for hours about this.
You got a couple of minutes. Go ahead.
Okay.
I just have about 30 seconds for the thing I want to say at the end.
Okay.
So go ahead. You got 2 minutes. Go for it.
I think I really wanted to comment on the identity thing. Identity is purely a conceptual thing. right? When we look at ourselves, we have our conceptual identity, right? We talk about our gender identity, our racial identity, our ethnic identity. These are concepts. Of course, we can tie them into real world experiences and things like that. But the way we view ourselves, identity is conceptual. So I would argue that somebody's religious beliefs are part of their identity. That's how they view themselves. So whenever and I am a staunch anti-theist, just so everybody understands. Anybody listening, I think it's all fucking trash. All right.
That's not what
I
you
will
told me last
gladly
Tuesday.
I will gladly say that there is no God. I just whatever. It's crap. That said,
Spoiler.
eh, there. That said, there. This is this people's identity. This is their. This is like I said. This is a culturally relative, like accepted belief that goes deeper than religion. So even those stories that are, I guess, pornographic or whatever, that they don't even see those things anymore. It's. I know I was raised evangelical. I was fucking saturated with it, and it's like you're reading that, but like what you're reading is more metaphysical and more. It's not what it really is. So I don't know if that argument stands. And that's why I'm saying it's just tragic. The whole thing is tragic that we would infantilize our children to this extent that the book that they probably have 10 copies of in their own house. And I understand the absurdity of it. I understand all of it. And maybe we highlight the absurdity, but I just think it's low. That's all I really wanted to say. I think it's low. I think what we're doing is stooping down to something, and all Christians, and it seems like most monotheists, because I know a lot of cool polytheists, most monotheists, what they want is to be a martyr. And I think that's what we're providing as martyrs.
Cool. Thanks, Jason. That was awesome.
Mhm.
Quick, two quick updates. I saw in the news today. Well, not the day we're broadcasting this, but the day we filmed it, which was last Wednesday. There was a protest at the Capitol in Salt Lake City with over 100 people protesting the Bible ban, including several Republican lawmakers. They're going to have to redefine what books they want banned. And I think, where do we go from there? We go back to bigoted language again. And another quick note to end the segment, another complaint was recently filed against the Book of Mormon as well in the same district. So we're probably going to see that book possibly banned too in the future. Again, if you agree with it, disagree with it, it's now happening.
Terrible.
And I really enjoyed having this conversation tonight. I had a blast. And if you would like to have more conversations like this, you can join our fan social media outlets. You can find most of the nonprofit hosts. You can find all of these hosts on the Atheist Community of Discord by going to tiny.cc/ACD Discord and on the Facebook at tiny.cc/FBNP. And we value your feedback. Tell us what you like, what you didn't like in the comments, or email us at atheist-community.org. Just before we started the show, somebody made a comment in last week's show, said, I love the show and all the nonprofit shows. I am here in Italy and I watch all the time. Keep up the good work. That came from our wonderful viewer, Lauren Malachino. So really, we really want to hear from you.
Lauren, thank you
And
so much.
visit the Atheist Community of Austin's official website at atheistcommunity.org for the latest of what's been happening, and feel free to contact the ACA at tv@atheistcommunity.org. John, you're new here. Where can we find you at? Real quick.
I hang out on the ACD. I don't really have I have a YouTube channel that I haven't really started yet, so I'm not going to go into that. So you can find me on ACD. I also co-host a news chat event on ACD on Wednesday nights, and I think that we cover some of the same stories we cover here, but we have different people with different ideas. So if you enjoy nonprofits, you might enjoy going to that. There are lots of other, there's at least one other Speak Your Truth event on Sunday night that is also good to be there. And we have others that will be coming back in with a new schedule sometime soon.
Okay, and I'm going to give everybody one word. Cynthia gave us one word last week to sum up our thoughts on the subject on this episode. Helen, what do you got?
Solution.
Jason.
Confused.
Jonathan.
I'd have to second confused, but also optimistic.
Okay, and I'm going to, you know what? I said hopeful last week, and I'm going to use the same word again. I'm hopeful that we're going to see more stuff in the future that's coming out positive in our direction. And I want to thank everybody for watching and listening to the show, and we will see you next time.
Watch Talk Heathen live Sundays at 1 p.m. Central. Visit tiny.cc/YTTH and call into the show at 512-991-9242 or connect to the show online at tiny.cc/callth.